Hi there, this is John Morey. Today I decided that I would like to talk to you about this one word, contingency. I've been thinking about this ever since we closed on this property and the word contingency was used. So to me, the word contingency means an event or a main event is dependent on a sub-event before the main event can happen. So let me just relate that to real estate. So for example, you're trying to sell a house, so your buyer submits a contract to you, and the contract says it is going to be contingent upon the sale of their property. So that means before they can buy your property, they have to sell their property. So hopefully that's pretty clear, right? So let me tell you what happened to my situation. So we had a property that was pretty nice. It was a newly rehabbed property. The buyer liked it, so they put a contract in. We liked the price, but it was contingent upon the sale of their property. So I talked to our agent about that, and this is something new for me. I learned this, that a property can be put in with a contingency, but at the same time, the buyer is aware that if there is another offer that comes in just as good or better than their offer, well, that first buyer, the one that we agreed to with the contingency, could either withdraw, or they could withdraw the contingency and move forward. So that's pretty good. We are in a position of power with that. Well, here's what happened. I think a couple of days later, something like that, the buyer decided to remove the contingency. Well, that's good news for us. Let me tell you what went through my mind. Hopefully we're on the same page on this. When that buyer took out that contingency, so that means there's nothing that we are depending on to fulfill this sale. That's the way I understood that. So time goes by. Here's what happened. We were supposed to close on April the 12th of 2021. So I was approached by our realtor and said, by the way, is it okay to move this to the 16th? So I asked why. They told me, or my agent told me, that the buyer is closing on another property. That's what I understood. And they want to make everything just on one day. I said, sure. Maybe I misunderstood that, but that's what I understood, that they're closing on a property and they just want to close everything on the same day. It didn't dawn on me that that property that they needed to sell was the property that they said in the earlier part that was contingent upon that sale of that property before they can buy ours. So I was just trying to be nice, and I said, sure, let's go ahead and do that, make everything easy for the buyer. We're going to close anyway. Then that week that we were supposed to close, probably the 12th or the 13th, I was told we are no longer going to close on the 16th. It's going to be moved on the 19th. Well, that didn't go very well with me. So I wasn't very happy with that. So I had a talk with my realtor and said, okay, what's going on? Come to find out, the property, so this was confirmed to me, the property that they were going to close on the 16th was the property that they have to sell before they buy our property. Now that didn't go very well with me because they pretty much lied to me. They took out the contingency, which means, like I said early on, the purchase of our property is not dependent on anything. Evidently, that was not the case. So they lied to us. So I had to sit back and really think about this. So I slept on it Then the next day, I told the agent, hey, by the way, what if we put something like this? Let's add another $5,000 as a additional earnest money, so that if we don't close on the 19th, at least us, we are going to get paid something for our time, and then we just put it back on the market. Come to find out also that these people don't have that much money. They are dependent on that property to sell. And so the choice that was given to me is either I just leave it as is or withdraw. Well, it was hard because I also had to think about my joint venture partner who is part of this. I didn't want my joint venture partner to think that I'm just like running on emotion and I'm going to make a bad decision. So I really had to think about this and use some logic. So what I had to do was really sit back and look at the timeline. So I did ask, what is the main reason here why we're moving it again? It was because of the lender. The lender did not submit the paperwork to the closing attorney on time. There was a timing issue there. I don't know the whole story or how that works, but there's a 3 days in advance that they were supposed to be giving it to the attorney's office to make sure everything's good. And I think there's some kind of law. I'm not sure. So I asked the agent, please let me know in advance if this paperwork is going to be submitted on time so that we can close Monday. So I ended up agreeing, let's close on the 19th. Within minutes, I was told that the paperwork coming from the lender was given to the attorney's office so that we can close on the 19th. So what's the lessons learned here? The lessons learned here is that the buyers will still lie to you, even though there's no, they already pulled out the contingency, right? So they still will lie. So just keep that in mind. And also, there's behind the scenes that you will not know unless your agent or the other agent is going to be upfront. I just felt that it was not given to me straight up, especially when the contingency was pulled. So that right there didn't go very well with me. However, we are appreciative that we did close on the 19th and everybody became happy. So for you folks that are out there that are watching this, just look at those things before you make an emotional decision. Sit back and make a better decision. And I'm glad that I sat back, even though I was really irritated because they lied to me. I didn't think that it was going to be contingent upon a sale of another property. We moved it from the 12th to the 16th to the 19th. So I was workable. We worked it, but I used the logic, and I also looked at the timeline that's going to be involved. If we pull it out, then we have to start all over. So that's why, we did close. But the lessons learned here is watch those things, ask the right questions, make sure that when they say they're going to pull out the contingency, ask your agent bluntly, or do they have to sell another property so that we can close on this sale? That's my tip for you for today.